Welcome to Sports Beat. The tradition continues. The NBA draft is Thursday, which means we have the privilege of having Utah Jazz Vice President of Player Personnel, Walt Perrin, live in studio to introduce us to this year's draft prospects. The Jazz have the 23rd pick and 53rd pick in the draft, if they keep them. I want to ask you to answer that question.
Can't answer it.
Could happen. Before we break down individual players, can you share your thoughts on this draft as a whole? It sounds like it's kind of evolved as you've gone through this process.
Yeah, excuse me. When I first looked at the players that I thought would be in the draft at the beginning of the year, I wasn't sure how good of a draft this was. But as the years evolved, as we've gotten in prospects, as we've gone into the theater and started looking at players, I think there's going to be some pretty good players in this draft. Again, most drafts you don't know how good it is for like 2 or 3 years, but I think there's some guys that eventually could be pretty good NBA players.
Let's see if you can land one of those on Thursday. We'll begin our breakdown with the highest rated prospect who came in for a workout, MFIONDU KABENGELE, a 6'10", 250-pound sophomore out of Florida State.
Yeah, he's a guy who came off the bench. He didn't start for Florida State this year because they had a 7'4" center that they started. Long, very athletic. Can stretch the floor.
Can shoot the three?
Shoot the three. He showed the ability to really shoot the top of the circle three in our workouts, and he had some times he shot some threes in the college. So can protect the basket, long arms, as I said, and can block shots. Pretty good rebounder. He was, as a guy coming off the bench, he was told that he could be the focus of the offense when he got in, and he was.
I've seen him project a little higher. How were you able to get him in for a workout?
I talked early with the agents, and we were able to set up a date, and he's been having some pretty good workouts, so that's probably why he might be moving up a little bit.
That's good to have those relationships. Next up, a senior from Villanova, a national champion, Eric Paschall, 6'8", 255 pounds.
Yeah, Eric is a small ball four, as we call it, stretch four. Really good shooter. He's really improved his body over its last 3 years. Coming off a national championship team 2 years ago. He's one of the leaders of the team. He's one of Donovan Mitchell's best friends. So he's a guy we kind of looked at and brought in for workouts also.
Sorry, we just saw Dylan Windler, but that was a great breakdown of Eric Paschall. Let's move on to OKPALA, sophomore out of Stanford, 6'9", 215 pounds.
Yeah, KZ is going to have to put on a little bit of weight, get a bit stronger. He's a wing player, really more of a slasher driver than a shooter. He's going to have to really work on improving his outside shooting game. He's long, and he's got a good ability to be a very good defender also in time.
Well, let's now talk about Dylan Windler, another senior out of Belmont, 6'7" senior. What do you like about his game?
The first time I saw Dylan this year, he went for 32 points and 21 rebounds.
There's a lot to like about that.
An awful lot to like about that. He's really a good scorer. He really knows how to play. He's got a little bit of Joe Ingles in him. He's a lefty. He knows how to pass. He put it on the floor, work off screen rolls. Has NBA range right now. He's going to also have to probably get a little bit stronger and improve his defense.
Do you feel like seniors, in most cases, but not all, have a better chance to make a rotation, to become a rotation player early on?
I would say a little bit maybe yes and no.
Okay.
The later in the draft, teams usually are looking at older guys, seniors. So yeah, because they have a little bit more experience, especially if they're playing in a Power 5 conference, they might have a better shot at making a team.
Well, let's look at another senior. Cameron Johnson, 6'9", 210 pounds, out of North Carolina.
Cameron is one of the better shooters, along with Dylan, who we just saw. But Cameron's one of the better shooters in the draft, I think. 6'9", transferred from Pitt, spent 2 years at North Carolina. Can shoot the three, runs off screens well. Very good catch and shoot player. Again, with him, got a little bit stronger. Defense has to be a little bit better. And probably has to learn to put it on the floor a little bit better.
But an NBA skill and a shooter, and who isn't looking for shooters right now?
We're always looking for shooters.
All right, now a freshman out of Kentucky, KELDON Johnson, 6'6", 211 pounds. Kentucky just seems to keep pumping out prospects. They come to the NBA.
Yeah, that's what Kentucky and kind of Duke does nowadays. They bring in the one and dones, and they're, you know, Cal makes sure that they get a lot of playing time. He teaches them well at Kentucky. Keldon is a slasher, aggressive offensive player. He's got good physique, good physicality in his game. He knows how to score.
Now, Keldon and Cam, you weren't able to get them in for workouts.
No.
For viewers that haven't watched or haven't seen and heard you explain this, just because you didn't get them in for a workout doesn't mean you're not interested and they're not interested in you. It just sometimes happens.
It sometimes happens. I think in, I would say maybe 2 out of the last 4 years, we've drafted guys that we had not had in for workouts. So it doesn't stop us from picking them. We do like to get them into our facility and take a look at them, puts our hands on them and see how they can play. But with Keldon, again, his agent thought that he would not be there at 23 and he was going to do a lot of workouts before us, so we couldn't get him in.
But you never know how it's all going to play out.
You never know.
There's some intriguing bigs in this draft. We talked about Fee earlier.
Yes.
Learned that's his nickname. But we pick things up now with Nick Claxton out of Georgia, an intriguing prospect.
Yeah, he's really intriguing because he's 6'11". He's really long. He's very active for his size. He moves more like a wing player than he does a big guy. He's one that's kind of moving up in the draft order, I would think. He's from Georgia. Wasn't a very good team this year. Didn't put up a lot of big numbers, but his dad played in the NBA, so he's from good stock and he knows how to play.
Now, if you're looking for shooting, which we know the Jazz are, Jerome can do that. And he's also a national champion out of Virginia. What can you tell us about Ty?
Yeah, Ty is an extremely smart player. As you know, he was one of the main guys for that national championship team. Shoots the ball well, really knows how to pass. Great passer off the dribble, with one hand. Good defender, not a great defender. We're a little concerned with him being able to guard, as we say, on the island when he's off by himself in a one-on-one situation. But he's coming from a great defensive system, so he can pick up things quickly. And again, as you mentioned, he's a guy who can really shoot the ball.
How much does winning, how much does being a part of a national championship team play a role in your evaluation of a player?
It plays a little bit of a role. We all like to have draft guys who are winners. Because it becomes a habit. But national championship team, again, you love to have them, but it's not a necessity.
Romeo Langford out of Indiana. This is another guy I don't believe you had in for a workout.
No,
correct?
we didn't.
So freshman, 6'6", 215 pounds. What can he do?
He hasn't worked out for many people because he's rehabbing an injured foot right now, I think. So he's a guy who's, again, he's more of a slasher, really a good mid-range shooter. He's going to have to really work on extending his shooting range. Comes from a very great program in Indiana. He's been well coached, and he had a very highly acclaimed high school career.
Somebody to keep an eye on there. Utah and Utah State fans very familiar with Matisse THYBULLE, another senior. A lot of seniors in this draft. Out of Washington, of course. Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year. What do you think of this senior?
He was another one we weren't able to get in. His agent was doing a very, very narrow range in terms of workouts. He's a guy really that moves well. He's long. He led the nation. I know he led the Pac-12 in steals. Really active defensively. He's going to have to work on his offensive game.
You worked out a number of players from Tennessee.
Yes.
Makes sense because they were pretty darn good, right? One of those was Grant Williams. What can you tell us about Grant?
Grant is one of the unique players in college that's going to be in the NBA. He's a good player, really a smart player, long arms, knows how to play, very good rebounder, and he scores around the basket. Again, with our game, he's going to have to learn how to move out away from the basket and shoot the jump shot a little bit better. Handles the ball well for his size.
Rick Barnes has done a great job, not just there, but also at Texas, producing NBA players. What does he do as a coach that helps prepare these guys for the NBA?
Well, he coaches them hard, which we kind of like to see. He teaches them well. They run a fairly good system down at Texas. He has a good defensive system, and he gets players that want to play and play hard, and that's what we kind of look for.
Let's look at another one here, another Tennessee prospect, Admiral Schofield, 6'6", 241 pounds.
Admiral is, as they say, is the heart of the team. He's the vocal leader of the team. Good athlete at 6'5", runs the court well, shoots the ball pretty well. He's a very good leaper, as you can see right here. Again, he talks. He's a very well articulated young man, very smart. Is going to be a good addition to some NBA team.
One thing that stood out to me about Admiral Schofield when he was interviewed by the media was he did his homework. He knew all these things about the Utah Jazz, not just Donovan Mitchell, but Karl Malone and John Stockton. Were you impressed with him in the interview process?
Yes, I was. Now, we didn't get all that, but we got a lot of stuff out of him. And he, again, as I said, he's a very articulate young man, a thoughtful thinker. So we kind of knew that coming in. So he didn't shock us like he shocked you, probably.
Right. You just never know. I mean, kids these days don't know who Karl Malone and John Stockton is, but Admiral did. Moving on, the next to the star of the NCAA tournament, Carson Edwards out of Purdue. Man, he was good in that tournament. Undersized, I mean, 6 feet maybe, right?
Well, he's 6 feet, just a little bit over 6 feet in shoes. But he's got a if I remember right, a 6'6", 6'7" wingspan. So he's really long. He's very powerful, powerful built. He's built more like a football player. He's got bow legs, so he's got a lot of strength coming out of his legs. And he can really shoot the ball. And he really got on the run in the NCAA tournament. Yes,
he did 24 points per game in college. I guess the question would be, how is he going to translate that to the NBA, especially with the size issue?
Even in college, he was shooting NBA threes. So he's used to that, and he's strong enough to get it off. He played a little bit shooting guard when he was a freshman, sophomore, so he knows how to come off screens. And he's played point guard the last 2 years, so he knows how to run a team. So he will be able to help an NBA team by his ability to put the ball in the basket.
Finally, an international player from Angola, 20 years old, played college basketball at Maryland. This is Bruno Fernando, a 6'10" power forward.
Bruno spent 2 years in high school in the United States, so he's not just coming straight over from Angola, but he's got, for the Jazz fans, he's got a body built like Derek Favors when Derek was coming out of Georgia Tech. But he's a strong kid. He plays hard. He lights up the room when he talks. He's a vocal leader for them. He's learned how to extend this game. He's been really working on being able to shoot the NBA three. And I think eventually in time he'll be able to do that consistently.
How many players did you work out this year?
A little bit less than 80, if I remember right.
Wow, you have done a lot of homework. Hope it pays off on Thursday. Can't wait to see what happens. Best of luck in the war room on Thursday, Walt.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Always.
Great stuff.